Okay, we're good. Yeah.
Okay, hello everyone. Can you all hear me? Yes? Okay, great. If you need to speak at this meeting, please do your best to speak into a microphone. That is how the people on Zoom will be able to hear you, is through the mic. All of the mics in the room get into the Zoom, as far as I'm aware. So you're not talking just to the people in the room, you're also talking to the people on Zoom, so use the mic. And thank you. Yeah, you can just stand.
Good morning, everyone. I'm gonna start standing. I want to see how it works. I think I should probably sit. I call this meeting to order at 7:10 p.m. Okay, are there any amendments to the agenda? Chris Espino.
May we scratch ASRF and Travel Grant Mini Fund?
Yes, Nico.
Hi, can I scratch USA/BOD allocations?
Yep, Kiara.
And okay, there's okay. Excuse me. May I strike SWC programming fund allocations, but then may I also add the SWC programming fund for new business for approval? I can add the link. Excuse me.
Karen.
Hi, can we strike, Hi, can we strike SFS allocations? And then can we also strike proposed memorandum of understanding for the Good Close Good People Basic Needs Redistribution Center?
Yes, Alex.
Hi, can I strike TGIF allocations from the agenda?
Sorry, yes, Alicia.
Can I strike ARC allocations and add ARC Arts Restoring Community Fund guidelines for the upcoming year for approval?
Have you?
Yeah, motion.
Oh, I move to add the Arts Restoring Community Initiative Fund guidelines for the 2024-2025 school year.
Second.
Alicia motions, Javi seconds. All in favor, please raise your hand now. Please lower your hands. All against, please raise your hands, and all abstaining, please raise your hands. With a 14-0 vote, that motion passes. Can someone strike the SGA presentation? Have you?
I move to strike the special presentation listed requisition form update and SGA policy update.
I second.
Can I also strike Bruin advocacy grant allocations and grassroots organizers for working students allocations?
Yes. Josh? We have to vote. Appointments. Yeah. You can do all three at a time. Can you motion it?
Can you? Second.
Josh motions, Javi seconds. All in favor, please raise your hand now. Please lower your hands. All against, please raise your hands. And all abstaining, please raise your hands. With a 14-0 vote, that motion passes. Do we have any more amendments to the agenda? Oh, Bethany.
Hi, I am the FICOM proxy, and can we please strike capital contingency allocations?
Okay. So Josh, could you motion to strike capital contingency and contingency programming? Any more amendments to the agenda? Seeing none, could we please get a motion to approve the agenda? Kiara.
I motion to approve the October 1st USAC agenda.
Second.
Kiara motions, Javi seconds. All in favor, please raise your hands now. Please lower your hands. All against, please raise your hands. And all abstaining, please raise your hands. With a 14-0 vote, that motion is approved. Minutes. Do we have minutes? We get a motion. Yes. Who is that? Yes, Robbie.
Motion to approve the September 17th USAC minutes.
I second.
Robbie motions, Tamim seconds. All in favor, please raise your hands now. Please lower your hands. All against, please raise your hands. And all abstaining, please raise your hands. With a 14-0 vote, that motion passes and the minutes are approved. Next, yes.
Before you go to public comment, I think Javi has it right now, but the attendance sheet is passing around. There's 2 areas for you to sign. Please ignore your colleagues who have signed the late area already. They will have to sign again, but you have to sign twice. So you have to sign within the first 20 minutes from 7 to 7:20, and then you're gonna have to sign again at the last agenda items. We'll pass it back around, but make sure you sign before 7:20. That's how you count your attendance.
Okay, next we're going to be moving on to public comment. And just a reminder for everyone that's here for public comment, we have a total of 30 minutes. Each public commenter gets 2 minutes to speak once. And just some of our community guidelines: challenge ideas, not individuals, use gender inclusive and respectful language, and no dehumanizing language. With that, do we have anyone in person that's here for public comment? Yes.
Oh, do we just like go for it?
Sorry?
Do I just like go for it? Or do I have to be like asked? Oh yeah, sorry. Okay. Also, what was... Oh, I don't. Oh, maybe. Oh, sorry. Oh, sorry. Okay. How's it going, guys? I was the old elections board finance chair, so I was first wondering if you guys got the reimbursements. Okay, nice. Sounds good. Okay, nice. That's actually amazing. But also, so I'm actually here because of like something related to that. So the old elections board, we didn't get the stipends yet because it was sent to us on like June 26th, and the person that was, I think, supposed to approve it no longer works for UCLA. So that's like somewhere stuck in limbo. So we were hoping you guys could do something about that. So that'd be like really cool if you guys could, because I don't think it's just me. It's like everyone I've talked to that was on the board last year. So yeah, that's about it. Oh, I had another question about like for appointments this year, because I think the process was different 2 years ago, and it was also different last year. So we were wondering if the process would be kept the same for appointments this year, or if it would be changed.
This is public comment. There's not going to be any back and forth,
Oh,
but I
sorry.
highly encourage you reach out to my office, and then we're going to sort out all the stipend thing with SGA, and we'll let you know how that goes.
Okay, sounds good. So we'll just reach out to your office for all of our questions?
Yes.
Okay, sounds good. Thank you. I'm going to take an Oreo.
Is there anyone else in person that's here for public comment? Do we have anyone online that's here for public comment? Seeing none, we're going to end public comment at 7:18 p.m. We have no funding today, no special presentations. So we're going to jump right into appointments, starting with the Finance Committee Chair. We have Bethany.
Hi, I first want to say that we actually do have funding today. I think I meant to scratch just the capital contingency.
Bethany, unfortunately, there currently isn't a FICOM chair, so you aren't allowed to proxy for Lucy because the position's currently empty, so we can't approve any funding today until you're appointed.
Okay. Okay, no worries then. Then I'll just go ahead and introduce myself.
Yeah,
My name is
let
Bethany
me,
Tong.
can I introduce appointments first? Just
Yes,
a
of
reminder
course.
to everyone of how it works. We're going to start with a 1-minute introduction, followed by a 15-minute question and answer period, and then a 1-minute closing statement. Then we're going to hear ARC's recommendations, have council deliberations, and then votes. With that, Bethany, whenever you're ready, please go ahead with your 1-minute introduction.
Okay, sounds good. Thank you. Hi, everyone. My name is Bethany Tong. My pronouns are she, her, and I'm a business economics student minoring in environmental systems and sustainability. Getting the opportunity to have served on the USAC Finance Committee for the past 2 years as a freshman committee member and then a sophomore vice chair has resulted in a lot of learning and growth, which I am very grateful for. I have interests in finance as well as being involved at UCLA. I think my passion for finance and serving the student body sets me apart from others. Being on the finance committee for USAC blends these two passions, and I would love to be head chair and a part of the USAC Finance Committee. Thank you.
Thank you, Bethany. We're now going to move to the 15-minute question and answer period by council members. With that, do any council members have any questions? Tamim?
What are some of the challenges that the FICOM committee faced last year, and how do you plan to overcome them as FICOM chair?
Yeah, I think that's a really great question. I think one of the biggest challenges last year was some of the same student groups applying for funding again and again. And so I think in terms of equity, it was a little bit more difficult as some groups just didn't apply as much. And then we wanted to make sure that groups that didn't get the funding the first time were able to get funding at least for some of their events. And so I think this year, just keeping it to make sure that we're very thorough with keeping track of how many times groups apply and making sure that groups that maybe haven't ever applied for funding before or maybe haven't received a lot of funding before are able to also get that, and so that their organizations and just the events that they put on are able to be run.
Thank you, Kiara.
Hi there. Thank you for being here today. My question for you is, from the experiences that you described, how would you say that your experiences would shape your decisions and your decisions and your approach and priorities if appointed to this position?
Yeah, I think that's a great question. In terms of my experiences, I've seen two different head chairs be head chair at USAC Finance, and as a result, I've seen just two different ways that it's been run. First, Josh Prentice and then Lucy, and I think just taking aspects of each of those, I'm able to most equitably and then also just fairly and systematically as well grade these applications and make sure that the committee as a whole is grading applications in a way that is fair for the student body as a whole and is representative of the UCLA community and as well as the values. I think in terms of the more technical side of things, being extremely familiar with the policies and the rules regarding the finances for USAC and analyzing, reviewing, and receiving budgets. I think that also allows me to make more informed decisions and make sure that the finances are handled responsibly with both the contingency and capital contingency funds.
Any other questions from council members? Alicia?
How fast would your turnarounds be for signing requisitions?
Yeah, I think that is a very valid question. I think for both me and then hopefully the vice chair as well, we're looking to at least return emails within 2 to 3 days, and I think that is a very reasonable goal for us. Of course, it sounds like maybe a lot of days, but I think I just want to give a target goal, a goal that is actually reasonable and achievable. And I think as full-time students as well, it is something that we'll be definitely keeping a track on the inbox. I think it is definitely a priority to be quick with those signatures, as I know a lot of times it is, it has to be timely. And so that's something that we are working to become faster at and make sure that we're not leaving the inbox, not looked at, not signed things for over 3 days.
Nico?
If appointed to FICOM chair, how do you plan on preventing requisitions from being lost in the inbox and just kind of getting passed up for weeks on end? Because that's been a reoccurring issue.
Yeah, I think that's definitely a valid question as well. I think just making sure that the inbox is, I think this summer at least we saw that just looking at it that we have been organizing it in a way that is we can definitely make changes to make it more efficient. And so I think just making sure that no requisitions slip through the cracks, and so everyone can make sure to get their funding when they need it and in a timely manner as well. And I think also just seeing the gravity of each requisition, that it is in the end supporting a student group on campus that that is impactful to a lot of communities of students, and just realizing how impactful the funding is for that, and seeing that we have to make sure everything is on time and doesn't get lost.
Alicia?
Thank you so much for answering my question. I would ask like if they could be like maybe 1 to 2 days, like as a goal for like the way student government accounting to run more efficiently. But I definitely understand how at the end of the day, we're all full-time students. So I understand where you're coming from in that 2 to 3 days being your goal. I was gonna ask if you'd be able to, well, if you'd be willing to share how you're gonna organize the inbox, and show like council and I guess like student body constituents how it's gonna look like for students to get a response and for FICOM to organize all like the requisitions that need to be signed. So I was just wondering if there's something that you and your team would be willing to do to show students how their requisitions are going to be processed.
Yeah, thank you for asking that question. And yeah, I definitely understand that 1 to 2 would be ideal. And that, of course, would be our goal in terms of getting responses as fast as we can. Of course, I think I just want to make sure that I don't guarantee, 1 to 2 days if that is not fully possible all of the time. Of course, we will try to do it as fast as possible. In terms of organizing the inbox, I'd love to maybe show sometime, but in terms of just verbally describing it, I think right now we do label every requisition with a label on an inbox label, which will organize it automatically in the inbox of either vice chair or head chair. And then from there, the vice chair will go in and assign all the recs that are under 500. And with those less than $500 recs, that will be sent to SGA in order to be processed there. In terms of the recs above 500, that would be processed through the head chair. So that was Lucy last year. And as soon as she can, she'll also go ahead and send it to SGA. I think one of the main problems were the questions that maybe we were unsure about that we'd have to contact SGA directly for. And so I think for those, just communicating with the people who sent the emails and saying, hey, we'll check it for you from SGA and then we'll get back to you, can be just a way that we can just quickly communicate with students and student leaders, just making sure that everyone understands where we're at, and then also just making sure we don't have recs pile up before we send it to SGA and we can just get that processed as quickly as possible. But I think that was a very good question as well. Thank you.
Any other questions from council members? Seeing none. Bethany, whenever you're ready, please go ahead with your 1-minute closing statement.
Okay, thank you. Yes, I appreciate the opportunity to interview for the USAC Finance Committee Head Chair, and I understand that it is an important role for the well-being of our student groups and organizations on campus. If I am appointed, it would be my honor to absolutely do my best in making sure that financial allocations are equitably and fairly distributed. And I thank everyone for their time today.
Thank you, Bethany. We are now going to get ARC's recommendations.
Sounds good. Bethany presented an exemplary interview with ARC, receiving a 3-0 vote. Having served as FICOM vice chair and having been in the committee for 2 years, ARC has no doubt that Bethany is more than qualified to take on the role of FICOM chair. ARC was additionally excited to see Bethany's goals of funding more groups that do not regularly apply to FICOM, as well as improving the grading process to ensure that graders are more detail-oriented in the review of applications. ARC highly recommends Bethany for this appointment.
Thank you, Josh. We're now going to move on to council member deliberations. I'd like to start. I think it's pretty obvious that Bethany is very well prepared for this role. I don't think there's anyone else that has the previous experience to be able to take on the role of FICOM chair, and we need someone that's experienced and good at their job. And Bethany, being the previous vice chair, gives her the experience necessary. So I think we should approve Bethany to be the vice-com chair. Any other deliberations or comments or concerns? If none, could you please get a motion? Tamim.
I motion to appoint Bethany Tong as the FICOM chair for the academic year 2024-2025.
I second.
Tamim motions, Josh seconds. All in favor, please raise your hand now. Please lower your hands. All against, please raise your hands. And all abstaining, please raise your hands. With a 14-0 vote, that motion passes, and Bethany is appointed as the FICOM chair. Thank you. We are now going to move on to our next appointment with TGIF. I'm so sorry if I pronounce your name wrong. Actually, could you tell me how you pronounce your name before I pronounce it? Avantika. Come on, please. Yes, microphone, please.
Oh, I'm short. Okay. Or I'll just do that. Does that work? Can everyone
Yes,
hear me?
perfect. Whenever you're ready, please go ahead with your 1-minute opening statement.
Cool. I'll start. Hi everyone. My name's Avantika and I'm going into my 3rd year as an MIMG major at UCLA, and I'm applying for the position of committee member for TGIF as the internal outreach chair. I joined the TGIF team last year, where I also served as internal outreach chair and learned the ropes from current and previous members of the team. We changed a lot about the way we worked, and we only hope that we'll take it further. But last year, we worked on increasing the amount funded to organizations, which actually totaled to just over $280,000 and over 100+ student organizations. And that was a lot more than what was done the year before that, and that was one of our biggest successes. It's also included in our end of year impact report, which I actually helped write over the summer. We increased transparency through quarterly Instagram reports, try to hold office hours almost every week, increased engagement, and came up with dozens of ideas, some of which we followed through with, and a lot of others that are still in motion. This upcoming year, I want to help TGIF achieve the heights we dreamed up and began to plan last year. There is still so much that can be done in terms of exposure to the undergraduate student body, impact on campus, amongst other things. I had a lot of ideas. I admit I may have not followed up on all of them, but I plan on being more responsible and forward thinking this year. I've already started to allocate a fixed and increased amount of time built into my schedule to commit to TGIF because I believe it deserves so much. I am incredibly passionate about it, and I want to see UCLA become a campus that cares about sustainability, not as an afterthought, but an integral part of every conversation.
Thank you. We're now going to move on to the 15-minute question and answer period. Do any council members have any questions? Alex?
Yes.
Hi, Avantika. Good to see you.
Good to see you too.
I guess I'm wondering if you can just expand on your vision for TJF and talk about maybe growing on stuff that you worked on last year as well.
Of course, yeah, very happy to do that. So, one thing that we did start doing was work on a sustainability guide, which we want to start circulating, so that we noticed that there was a trend in the applications we received where a lot of health and sustainability related orgs were applying, but we want to increase that outreach because, once again, we're trying to make sustainability a thing that everyone incorporates, not just like orgs that are focused towards it or like have a specific interest in science, because sustainability at the end of the day is science, but like it's science that can be married into so many other things. I think so. Part of that, of course, was the sustainability guide. And then we're going to try and increase engagement this year. So last year it was quarterly reports, but engagement also is like has to happen at a very personal level. I think one thing we didn't do that we could have improved on was actually like going out into the student body and like connecting with them one-on-one. So that means like attending the events we funded. It means like tabling at like sustainability fairs or like maybe even on Bruin Walk, and like tangible things like that, like small things that can like increase our visibility. Because I think, you know, the orgs that want to know we exist, but there's so many orgs that can know we exist, but don't know we exist. And then when they do find out how we exist, they don't really know how their application can come and tie into what our values are. And so that's what the sustainability guide is about. I think we're also increasing office hours this year. So, you know, I want my vision to match my other committee members' visions. I don't want it to just be like me rambling. It's something that we talked about last year. It's something that's going to be in the works this year. There's a lot more members on the committee this year, which I'm very excited about because it means we can do so many more things. And, you know, like really allocate our time. So like, I think another thing we talked about was like having an end of year banquet. Maybe that would be a thing that happens this year, or maybe an end of quarter banquet. Who knows, you know? But yeah, like trying to increase visibility, awareness, and then of course education with the campus.
Any other yeah, Espino.
Thanks, Adam. Thank you for being here. My question for you is, innovation is key to advancing sustainability here at UCLA. Can you please share a creative or unconventional idea you have for a sustainability project at UCLA? How would you bring that idea into fruition?
This is a great idea. So I actually have two. One was, I don't know how tangible it is because it will have to go through all of you, is trying to change our bylaws. No, I didn't mean it like that. But like it'll just like take time to get approved. Maybe it's something that like my successors will see through. But it's changing bylaws because one question actually that like I was asked in my ARC interview was how can we make marginalized communities on campus, more a part of our process. And I feel like to do that, we can, if we could allocate like a baseline fund as part of our fund that's part of, funding specifically for marginalized communities. Of course, like, their events and projects will have to tie into sustainability. Of course, there's that. But, like we'll work with them and we're happy to consult with them because again, it's all about like that back and forth that like gets to that can help get to a point where like you have all these people applying and like getting money from us. And so changing our bylaws to maybe reflect like a tiny little aspect of our fund that's like kept aside for like specifically marginalized communities on campus, but that's more of like a bylaw thing. Like an idea I've had is I feel like there's a lot of technology waste that occurs on there's a lot of waste on campus in general, but I feel like technology specifically, I think students buy iPads, we buy computers, we buy laptops, we buy phones, and we buy them at such an excessive rate that like the waste material left over, like once we're done with that iPad or laptop, where does it go? What happens to it? If it's at a point where it can still be saved, can students work on saving it so that it can be repurposed, given a second life, and given to students who can't afford it? Because there's all kinds of students on campus. So that's kind of something that like is my personal passion project that I would love to start. I don't know if I can. I'll need a lot of resources and capital and like awareness, but like having students like kind of donate their used electronics to give it a second life and then having another bunch of students try and repurpose that by like fixing, the electronics and then like another bunch of students who help like circulate that into underserved populations on campus. Did that kind of make sense?
Sure.
Follow up, yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, okay. Thanks for your response. The next question I have for you is there are, as you probably mentioned, there are a lot of organizations on campus that work on sustainability, right? We're privileged to have a chief of sustainability, Murit, and right, other campuses around the country don't necessarily have such a don't necessarily place such a huge emphasis on sustainability. So we're very lucky that UCLA does. With that being said, in what ways can TGIF help build a culture of sustainability at UCLA that goes beyond individual projects, right? How can we do this in a more collective and big, in a way that creates such a profound impact? And also in a way that it becomes embedded in the university's values and practices.
I think that's a very important question to be asking. It's a question we have asked ourselves several times this past year. And I think it comes down to collaborating with other entities on campus that can help us create this change. So we do have a sustainability office, which exists independently of our committee, right? So working closely with them, there is a sustainability task force as well. So working with them, maybe like setting up a system where maybe we have monthly meetings with like all the sustainability orgs on campus. I know they're all listed on their website and including the task force and like having like a monthly kind of meeting, just kind of like this, but monthly, not weekly, where we all sit down, exchange ideas, talk about how we can get this campus to be more, sustainability centric and focused. There's of course SAR, which like we've funded some of their pilot projects in the past, which I think they're also doing important work at a undergraduate level. But again, it's like individual. It's not like something like you said, like, it's something huge that we are being able to achieve. It's more like individual things that people are doing, which I feel like those are important as well because some of parts is a huge whole. But is I think while the individual work is important, I think maybe setting up a system that like can maybe be like that, which again, something that we ideated about last year, but we weren't able to follow through with was kind of getting that monthly meeting to go. Also, maybe just like having other commissions part of USAC starting to focus a little bit more on sustainability. I feel like, you know, it doesn't have to be something that like there's a specific committee towards. I feel like we're getting to a point in our lives where if we're not sustainable, there's not going to be resources left. And like it's hard to like think about this idea as a student because like all our whole lives are ahead of us. But I think that the more I think about it, the more I realize how urgent and pressing it is to start getting sustainability incorporated. And I know like it's like a buzzword that's like huge and can mean so many things, but it's beautiful that it can mean so many things because that just means it can be incorporated into everything. I don't know if that answered your question, but those are just some of my preliminary thoughts.
Kiara.
Hi there. Thank you for
Hi.
being here today. So as you mentioned, sounds like collaboration is a big goal of yours, not only with like the larger, not only with campus orgs, like larger orgs as well, like UCLA sustainability, and you know, there's also like UCLA waste management and many others we've worked with before as well. And so just kind of going off Chris's point of there being so many organizations on campus and everything, what is your approach to outreach and you know, finding different ways of communicating and connecting with these organizations and people since we have just so many groups and, as you said, different ways to integrate sustainability and ones that may not be seeking out TGIF, but ones that you'd want to reach out to. So I want to ask if you could expand on your approach to that.
Sure, yeah. I don't think this is something, I mean, I definitely think this idea could use a lot of work. Happy to talk about it with you if you'd like to, you know, give your inputs as well. But I think, so like, for me, like, just to get it started with emailing, just cold emailing these organizations, it's something we tried to do, but again, kind of like it lost steam as the year went on and like life got busy. So definitely that like I said, trying to set up a time to meet where we're all on the same page, having some sort of like agenda, maybe getting their input on the sustainability guide, because that is a guide we're planning on circulating between the undergraduate student population for all projects. And like the guide has sections. It has sections for like engineering projects. It has sections for like arts related events on the campus. It has sections for all these different things. Of course, they're just suggestions. It's not like a hard and fast rule you have to follow, but like, here's how we think you can plan your event or project so that when you apply for funding, we're not doing this back and forth where we're like, no, your vendors are wrong. No, this is wrong. No, that is wrong, because we do have strict bylaws we follow. So that, and I feel like there's a distinction in each group and what they're working on. Like we're a funding body, but SAR does research. Similarly, the task force is related to like trying to incorporate sustainability onto the campus in like a different way. Then you have like other groups that are working on other things like CalPERG. CalPERG is like they also work with sustainability, but they also work with so many other things, right? So like each group does its own little thing. And I feel like coming together, a place where we can hear each other out, hear what they're doing, they can hear what we are doing. Because right now it's just kind of like there's so many things and it just seems so intangible and chaotic. But coming together, understanding what we do, what they do, and then like having that dialogue would be important. And I think that dialogue, of course, starts with emails, probably progresses to some sort of meeting that can happen. Um, Maybe even like some sort of fair or something like that, where all of us are like, we just go on a Dixon court and we're all tabling at the same time. I don't really know yet, but it's just an idea right now. But I think we would like to follow through with it, and like I would love to brainstorm with my other committee members about it as well.
Any final questions from council members? Seeing none. Avantika, whenever you're ready, please go ahead with your 1-minute closing statements.
Thank you. Thank you for considering me. Thank you for letting me stand up here and talk about what I'm passionate about. I appreciate your attention and questions today. I hope you do approve me for the committee position. Just to reiterate, I feel like there's so much that can still be done, and I feel like I'm very passionate about it, and I know that the other committee members are passionate about it, and none of us can wait to make a difference on campus. Thank you.
Thank you. Can we please get ARC's recommendations?
Yes, Avantika had a very impressive interview with ARC, receiving a 3-0 vote. Having served as TGIF's internal outreach coordinator last year, ARC was impressed with Avantika's efforts to improve TGIF's transparency, including her contributions to their end-of-year impact report. ARC was excited to see some of Avantika's goals to improve outreach to groups such as cultural orgs that don't necessarily explicitly focus on environmental projects in order to promote broader sustainability efforts on campus. ARC recommends Avantika to this appointment and is looking forward to seeing Avantika come back to the committee this year.
Thank you, Josh. We're now going to move into council deliberations. Does anyone have any deliberations, questions, comments? Yes, Alex.
Hi, Avantika. I have a little thing, but first off, like just even hearing some of the ideas that we haven't talked about yet, but that are so good, I'm literally writing notes right now, so
Yay.
I will follow up on those. But after having conversations with Avantika and seeing her work ethic over the last year, I'm so grateful. I'm happy to see her apply once again. I've personally seen the reach of TGF expand immensely and the range of clubs applying grow quarter after quarter. With Avantika on TGF, I believe this will continue this year. And because I feel like we've talked enough where I need to abstain, I'm abstaining, but obviously that's a recommendation to a point.
Thank you, Alex.
Thank you,
there
Alex.
Are there any comments from council members before we move to voting? Seeing none, could we please get a motion? Yes, Chris Ramsey.
I second.
Chris Ramsey motions. Was that Tamim? Tamim seconds. All in favor, please raise your hands now. Please lower your hands. All against, please raise your hands. And all abstaining, please raise your hands. With a 13-0 to 1 vote, that motion passes, and Avantika is appointed to the Green Initiative Fund.
Yay! Thank you. Could somebody help me with this? Thank you. I appreciate it.
Next, we have a consent item for the Campus Sustainability Committee. We have Valerie. Jonathan, correct me if I'm wrong, but we just have ARC's recommendations and then we vote. Oh, sorry, no, we don't vote. We approve, or no contests. ARC recommendations.
Yes,
please.
I'll read off the recommendations. Valerie had an excellent interview with ARC, receiving a 3-0 vote. ARC was excited to see some of Valerie's goals to promote sustainability on campus, including increasing the use of UCLA's community garden to decrease our campus's carbon footprint, analyzing the transportation footprint, and increasing accessibility to more sustainable modes of transportation. Valerie additionally demonstrated a passion for promoting sustainability more broadly with the goal to ensure various communities on campus can feel they're actually contributing to sustainable projects. With this in mind, ARC recommends Valerie to this appointment.
Thank you, Josh. Since this is a consent item, we will not be voting, but does anyone have any opposition to the appointment of Valerie to CSC? Perfect. Congratulations, Valerie. You're now appointed to the Campus Sustainability Committee. We are now going to be moving on to 2 Academic Senate appointments, both for Legislative Assembly, starting off with Caitlin. Hey, Caitlin, whenever you're ready, please go ahead with your 1-minute opening speech.
Hi, my name is Caitlin Kim, and I use she, her pronouns. I am a third-year student, a first-year transfer at UCLA, majoring in English, and I plan to add sociology as a double major. I'm applying to serve as one of the academic senators for the Legislative Assembly of the Academic Affairs Commission, and I believe my experience advocating for students and amplifying student needs through my service as an associate member of both the Public Relations and Student Services Committees at my community college will help me in this position. And additionally, I have lived experience as a transfer student who personally I had to support myself financially through community college. So I understand to a certain extent the barriers that make it more difficult for certain students to succeed academically. So I believe that this personal experience will help me in this position as well. And I am passionate about research and service and academic and intellectual freedom. And I hope to support UCLA's values of these through my position.
Thank you. We're now going to move on to the 15-minute question and answer period by council members, starting off with Chris Espino.
Hello, Caitlin. Thank you for being here tonight. My first question for you is, what is your understanding of the Academic Senate?
My understanding of the Academic Senate is that I serve as one of the voices for the undergraduate student population, and particularly for me, it would be for transfer students. From my understanding, I like don't get a vote, but then I can sway or not sway, but I can like give input on the students' needs and yeah, what they need to the assembly.
Thank you.
Tamim.
Hey, Caitlin, how are you going to ensure that diverse voices are represented within the Legislative Assembly?
I will ensure that diverse voices are represented on the academic on the Legislative Assembly by making sure that I like listen to all students' voices, particularly those from underserved or systemically marginalized communities, because I believe that academics, like access to academic opportunities are very, what's the word? It's like, it's not an equal playing field. And I believe that by uplifting the voices of those who have systemically been underserved, um, by uplifting their voices, I hope to like learn more about what they need and provide resources for them to succeed.
Thank you.
Josh.
Hi, Caitlin. Thank you so much for coming out tonight. Why did you choose to apply to this committee as opposed to other academic senate committees?
I chose to apply to the Legislative Assembly because I believe that I can be a good voice for transfer students or undergraduate students in particular, and I believe that that sorry, I believe that I have my personal experience to go off of, and then I also have a diverse group of people that I know, and based on their personal experiences, I hope to advocate for changes to help these students.
Chris Espino.
Caitlin, my second question for you is, the Academic Senate holds significant influence over academic policies. How would you ensure transparency and accountability in your decision-making process as a member of the Senate?
For me, I would ensure transparency and accountability by making sure that we have like a written trail of everything that we talk about, because I think that's really important. And yeah, thank you for your question.
Kiara.
Hi there. Thank you for being here today or tonight. My question is, as you talked about following Tamim's question of listening to students' needs, what specifically are your goals, or how do you plan to approach listening to students like throughout the year as these needs of students can change? We also have so many different populations of students who have very different experiences on campus. So how specifically do you plan on communicating with these different groups of students and using your position, if appointed, to, yes, communicate and listen to those concerns and experiences?
Yeah, thank you for your question. I plan to advocate for these students' needs and like identify what their needs are by making sure that I think for me, in my experience as a member of the Student Services Committee, a lot of what we did was like sending out surveys because I think that's a really powerful tool to get student inputs, especially for those who may not want to like say it, like have their face associated with it necessarily. So anonymous surveys would be a good way to figure out what the needs are. And was there another part of that question? Sorry, I don't. Okay. Okay, sounds good.
Yes. Go ahead.
All right.
Pino.
Caitlin, I think just one more question for me. So describe a time when you had to make a difficult decision that was unpopular but necessary. How did you navigate the situation and what was the outcome? If this is not applicable, I can ask another question.
Does it have to be related to like school?
Anything you want.
Okay. Um, and the question is, describe a situation when I had to make a difficult but an unpopular decision.
I'll reword it. I'll restate the question. Describe a time when you had to make a difficult decision that perhaps was unpopular but necessary. How did you navigate the situation and what was the outcome?
I worked as an assistant manager at a restaurant, and there are like in restaurants sometimes there's like different like cliques or like there can be tension that goes on, and like the popular opinion was to like isolate this one worker, and in my position I had like more of a leadership position. I had to basically like explain both sides because I like was close to both sides, and I knew like where their issues were coming from, like in terms of working style. And so even though it was like really uncomfortable, because I am a people pleaser, it was uncomfortable to um like go against, I guess, the popular, everyone's popular like ideas were. I thought it was important to like be clear about where each party was coming from so that we can come to like so that the tension will be like dissolved.
Josh.
Hi, can you please elaborate on a position or an experience you had in community college that would help you in this position?
Yeah, of course. One position I held was, sorry, can I actually think about it a little more? Yeah. One position I held at community college was I was the activities coordinator for the Alpha Gamma Sigma Honor Society. And with that position, it wasn't like directly related to like academics, but then it was a lot of like collaborating with group members, and we set up different volunteering and service events. I was a big part of coordinating these events, and yeah.
Any final questions before we move on? Seeing none, Caitlin, whenever you're ready, please go ahead with your 1-minute closing statement.
Thank you for considering me for this position. Some ideas that I have that I didn't get to talk about um, were like possibly expanding the transfer summer program for transfer students, because I believe that like research opportunities and like opportunities to get to know professors better are limited because we have limited time. Another idea I have is perhaps increase like sorry like helping students to get acclimated faster to UCLA. And I would also advocate for diverse faculty so that the transfer students and like all students, but particularly from marginalized communities, feel seen and heard and like they belong even in the classroom. Um, those are some things I didn't get to talk about. Thank you for your consideration once again, and if selected, I look forward to advocating for UCLA students by contributing to efforts to achieve academic equity.
Thank you, Caitlin. We're now going to hear ARC's recommendations.
Yes, Caitlin had an impressive interview with ARC, receiving a 3-0 vote. Caitlin demonstrated a clear passion for academic equity in her interview with the goal of bringing a student perspective onto the assembly and addressing systemic barriers in academics. ARC was also impressed by Caitlin's emphasis on DEI initiatives, including mandating anti-discriminatory training for faculty, as well as trainings on how to use more inclusive language for faculty. ARC highly recommends Caitlin to this role and can't wait for Caitlin to get started in their position.
Thank you, Josh. We're now going to move into council member deliberations. So do any council members have any comments or concerns? Yes, Alex.
Hi, Caitlin. Thank you so much for coming here today. I just want to say, as a fellow transfer, I'm so proud of you for applying, and I'm so happy to see you represent other transfer students in the academic legislative. Oh, I forget the name. Sorry. But yeah, just hearing you talk about your transfer experience, I know you're going to represent a wide range of communities, and yeah, I'm just excited to see you. So I'll be voting yes.
Thank you,
Thank you.
Alex. Are there any other comments or concerns from council members? Yes, Spino.
Thank you, Caitlin, for being here tonight. I don't know why your comment was just about to make me cry. I'm feeling very emotional tonight. Anyway, thank you for being here tonight. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Any final comments? No? Seeing none, could we please get a motion? Robbie.
Motion to approve Caitlin Kim to the Academic Senate Legislative Assembly.
Robbie motions, Chris Espino seconds. All in favor, please raise your hand now. Please lower your hands. All against, please raise your hands. And all abstaining, please raise your hands. With a 13-0 to 1 vote, that motion passes, and Caitlin is appointed to the Academic Senate Legislative Assembly.
Thank you.
We are now going to move on to our next and final appointment for the same position, the Academic Senate Legislative Assembly, with Rebecca. Hey, Rebecca.
Hi,
Whenever you're
everyone.
ready, please go ahead with your 1-minute opening statements.
First of all, thank you all for having me here today. I'm really happy to be here. So my experience as a third-year transfer student is one of the reasons why I want to be on this academic legislative assembly. I bring with me a lot of experience in student government. I come from Rio Hondo College, where I was the vice president of our student government there, and I worked on several committees, such as the Policies and Procedures Committee and the Policies and Procedures Council, also serving in hiring committees, um, setting up events for students in all facets, and just trying to make our overall school community a better place for students to feel a sense of belonging there. So I think that that's the same thing that I want to contribute to UCLA. Even though I don't have much experience here, I'm really excited to learn about how I can help, interview people, see what maybe needs to change in the academic sense and bring that to the table in the Senate. Thank you.
Thank you, Rebecca. We're now going to move into questions by council members. If anyone has a question, please raise your hands. Chris Espino.
Thank you for being here. My first question for you is the same question I asked the former applicant or the previous applicant. What is your understanding of the Academic Senate?
So the Academic Senate is made to review policy and write possible legislation on the policy surrounding academics, make changes that align with our campus values and the values of our students, but ultimately to just be a student voice and representative for my fellow students.
Yes, Kiara.
Hi there. Thank you so much for being here tonight. My question for you is, what, from your perspective, would you say are some of the biggest challenges facing students on campus under the jurisdiction of the Legislative Assembly and in the Senate? And what is your plan to approach these if appointed to the position?
So in the academic sense, I think just having academic freedom is one of the biggest things that students may deal with, whether that be through free speech, just being able to have whatever viewpoint they need to and not be judged for it or not be graded on harshly because they don't align with maybe the professor's viewpoint. I think that possibly could be a big one in our state of climate that we're in right now, whether it comes to politics or war or anything like that. I think students should have a free opinion on any stance that they choose. So I think coming up with policies to protect these rights, and I know that our intern chancellor, he did recently come up with a set of policies to help protect these rights, protect students' freedom, free speech, and everything like that. But I really want to enforce it into policies that specifically target academics and academic policy.
Yes, Chris Espino.
Hi there, Rebecca again. So today we've been talking a lot about sustainability. We've made several appointments to various sustainability oriented committees. My question for you is UCLA is committed to sustainability. How do you envision something so different like the Academic Senate contributing to UCLA sustainability goals, both with respect to academic programs and with respect to campus operations?
I haven't really thought about this, but off of the top of my head, I think that the academic council may contribute to sustainability by possibly digitizing everything that we need, such as books, different pamphlets, just really contributing to less waste in paper would be a big one, since a lot of the things are written in books. I think that we could also make a better effort to recycle whatever maybe unused items that we have, either that be in classrooms or just personal items, just making sure that we can, I would even say like create a thrift store or something so that we can go and give like our old notebooks that we never use that are sitting under our bed, or, you know, just other supplies that students may need. Um, I think just the physical aspect of our paper trail and our waste, I think we could really improve on that and come up with ways to solve that problem.
Mono.
Okay. Thank you for being here. I have like a two-part question for you. Can you clarify on what you mean by enforcing those policies that you mentioned a little bit earlier, and exactly which policies you are referring to by name? And then also, can you expand on how you believe that those policies you mentioned protect academic freedom?
So I think just free speech policies overall. I don't know the exact name of the policies that were rolled out, but I know the interim chancellor recently sent everybody an email talking about the efforts that they were making to make students safer on campus. And I think that those policies also apply to the academics as well as just overall campus safety, because in these policies, it's targeting the fact that students should be allowed to say what they want and yeah, just say what they want, have whatever standpoints that they should feel, and you know, be able to express that for themselves without being teared down or told that they shouldn't say that, or you know, just creating a safe environment for students to feel what they feel. So I think that we should address these more in the academic senate so that we can contribute to a safer environment for students and allow them to take what they feel, not be ashamed of it, and put it into their work, into their research, whatever they need to. So that's kind of what I was talking about targeting in those policies.
Chris Espino.
Hi again, Rebecca. Separate question. I want to get to know a little bit more about what drives you. What personal experiences or values drive your desire to serve on the academic senate, and how do those inform the way you would approach this specific role?
Good question. So I think that just my personal life experience that I bring is really what would guide me along the way. So I am a non-traditional student. I'm also a transfer student. I'm a student with a disability. What else? Yeah, I'm just like a lot of different things. And I feel like those experiences definitely give me a unique perspective on what other students may be feeling, what other students may be experiencing, even with students who come from disadvantaged backgrounds, one-parent households, first-time college student. I represent all of these people. So I think that just having that background gives me a unique sense of duty to kind of speak up for these people. I think also my experience in student government really does equip me with the knowledge that I need, even stuff as simple as knowing Robert's rules or parliamentary procedures. Knowing that kind of stuff, I can conduct myself well in the area of a Senate. And really know when it's time for me to amplify my voice and never feel afraid to do so, just because there may be a room of 50 people that are, you know, staff way more knowledgeable than I may be. I think those really do guide me. yeah, just my experiences in general.
Josh.
Yeah, thank you so much for coming out tonight. I just want to clarify that those new policies that you mentioned actually limits the amount of areas that are where free speech is protected on campus. So with that in mind, how will you promote academic freedom and protect students' right to free speech in your position?
I would definitely argue against that for students. I think that we should be able to practice free speech wherever we want. So just combating those policies that not all students feel right to agree with. And, you know, if students, I would try to get students to also speak up as well, because I do not think that that should be a thing at UCLA. So I think just recording on the legislative level allows for change and to open up the conversation instead of just settling for, you know, what the people above us may think, really gives us the chance to speak up for ourselves and to change that narrative if we're not okay with it, because we shouldn't be.
Any final questions from council members? Yes, Chris Espino.
One last question. Sorry, yeah. One last question. What do you see as the most exigent challenge facing the academic senate, and how do you plan to address that challenge during your term?
You know, I haven't been at UCLA for too long. This is only my first week. So I am still going to be openly learning and openly talking to people to understand our problems. I'm not going to act like I come in here knowing everything, because I don't. So that might start with talking to you guys, since you guys have probably talked to a bunch of people about these topics. So just picking people's brains, finding out what the real priorities are, either in a timely manner or the matter of importance. I think those are really great places to start when it comes to it. But like I said, just protecting overall freedom of speech is probably my number one priority right now. So that's where I'm going to start.
Follow up. Go ahead.
Yeah, if I may just alter my question. You served as the vice president at your community college, right?
Yes.
So what is one exigent challenge that y'all faced that you helped change?
Hmm. Um, so sorry. I would just say, so we come across a lot of problems in our community college, whether that be, um, you know, courses that aren't offered as often as they should be. But financial aid was my main thing that I wanted to target, because the cost of attendance at our community college did not accurately reflect how much it actually cost to live and go there. It seemed like they were just expecting people to live with their parents, and they weren't accounting for housing costs or anything, which can be really expensive in LA. So I tried to change this by talking to our higher ups, and when presented the opportunity, I actually got to go to Washington, D.C. with a few of my other student body members, and that was the main thing that I was advocating for there. I was talking to teams of senators and congresswomen to help change this problem and to just bring it to their attention on a national level. I'm not sure if it has been changed yet, but just having people become aware, especially at my community college, was the number one thing that I could do to change that. Because now since I told them, they said that they're aware of it. They're going to start talking to the people that they need to talk to get that change and to address this problem.
Mono.
Okay, thank you. I had another question about your experience as vice president at community college. Before I get into it, congratulations. That is an amazing honor, and I'm sure you served pretty well. My question for you is, can you expand on something that you faced as vice president there, in line with the topic you mentioned is a key priority for you tonight, academic freedom? Was there anything that was a challenge for you that year that you guys had to face regarding that, or any other experience that you can kind of expand on specifically as it relates to that?
So our climate at Rio Hondo College was very fair. We honestly did not have to deal with anything to do with academic freedom during the year. If anything, they wanted us to voice our opinions more and, you know, kind of just contribute to the overall value building of the community college. So I feel like we were a little bit more or less focused on academics, more focused on just diversity, inclusion, like those kinds of things. So to be honest, we didn't really have to target anything with academics. But
Thank you. There's no
sorry,
much.
can I
Sorry.
add on to that?
Yes, go ahead.
But yeah, since coming to UCLA, I do see that, you know, academic freedom is one of the main things that this campus climate is kind of, that's what needs the most attention. So I think, you know, just I would shift my focus over here to include that.
Thank you. Josh.
Okay, one more question. I know in your ARC interview, you mentioned that you had some advocacy experience. So I was wondering if you could maybe touch on that and also elaborate on what strategies you would use to advocate for student interest towards faculty or administrators on campus.
I'm sorry, can you say the last part one more time? I think I missed
Oh
a
yeah,
word.
for the second part, what strategies would you employ to advocate for student interest towards faculty and administrators on campus?
Some of the things that we would do to get students to, sorry, sometimes I have trouble with two-part questions, just remembering it all. But if I got the question right, one of the things that I did to advocate for students and know their needs was create a suggestion box. So I know it sounds super simple or whatever, but we had no way of communicating with students and hearing them out for whatever problems they had. So we put these suggestion box, and they were physical, and they also had a QR code in two of the most popular places for student traffic. So we would put these up, listen to students' opinions, and try to solve the problems as fast as possible. So I think just hearing students out. Can you actually repeat the question? I want to make sure I address it right.
Yes. So in your ARC interview, you mentioned some advocacy experiences you had. So I was wondering if you could touch on that and then elaborate on like what strategies you would employ when advocating for students to faculty or administrators on campus.
Definitely. So in our student government, we had our academic advisor. So when it comes to student advocacy, we met with our academic advisor. We came up with a plan of different things that we needed to address, whether that be the financial aid thing that I was talking about, or we had like the Black Scholars Hub. We really wanted to feed more into that so that our Black students could feel heard and had a place to meet. So we would just kind of develop these different programs in order to advocate for specific minorities and specific people. So yeah, that was kind of our advocacy process, just in student government, meeting with advisors, meeting with specific faculty to make sure students' needs were heard, and really just going to the right people to get the problem solved.
Thank you. We are now going to move on to your 1-minute closing statements. So please proceed whenever you're ready.
Well, thank you so much for having me here today, you guys. I really do appreciate it. I really wanted to serve on the Legislative Assembly to be the voice of students, to advocate for their needs, to be a good listener, talk more than I listen, at least when I'm not in the Senate, and really just come from an understanding place of what students need at UCLA. I really don't want to sit on the sidelines. Like, I want to come up to bat and like really make an impact while I'm here, because that might not be a long time, only 2 years. So I really just want to be a team player to advance, our students, and, help create a sense of community and a sense of, our voice matters here. So I think that we do need people in these committees and not just sitting on the sidelines. So thank you for having me.
Thank you, Rebecca. We are now going to hear ARC's deliberations.
Rebecca had an excellent interview with ARC, receiving a 3-0 vote. ARC was impressed with Rebecca's previous experience with student advocacy, having served as her community college's vice president, where she advocated for student interests of faculty, and even went to DC to advocate for student interests of senators. As an incoming transfer, ARC was additionally excited to see Rebecca's goals to advocate for the educational and academic needs of the transfer community. As a result, ARC recommends Rebecca for this appointment.
We are now going to move on to council member deliberations. Do we have any comments or concerns from council members? Mrs. Espino.
Rebecca Robles. I did not know you were Latina, but I just read the last name. First and foremost, congratulations for getting into UCLA from one Latino to another. Um, let's see. So I like to pose a lot of the like hypothetical questions because that's kind of the dynamic of these committees, right? Sometimes you really I guess you have to come up with a scenario in order to ensure that you can really convince faculty that what you're saying will have an impact on the students. And so for that reason, um, I ask the questions the way I do. But I do want to say you answered them perfectly. Right. For many of these questions, we really have to take a moment to just contemplate every possible facet that may be associated with whatever program or whatever solution we may think may be the best for a population as diverse as UCLA. So I strongly encourage the rest of the council to appoint you to this position, and if appointed, welcome to this commission, and I'd love to have you. So thank you.
Any other comments or concerns, Alex?
Hi, Rebecca. First off, thanks for being here today. I'll say the same thing. As a fellow transfer, I'm so proud of you for being here today. It's scary to talk in front of like, how many do we have? 15 people? What was I gonna say? But yes, I'll be voting yes today. I think your experiences in community college have definitely prepared you for this. All I'll say is, going into student government myself, building that institutional knowledge is your first week. Like, even the fact that you looked up those policies, like, is very impressive. So, I hope there's gonna be more policies probably rolling out or activism surrounding free speech. So just in this role, it sounds like you're really passionate about free speech. So just continue to look out for that and educating yourself. But I think you're gonna do great. So yes, I'll be voting yes.
Yes, Chris Ramsey.
Yeah, I just want to say I know it is kind of difficult to go through the appointment process, to speak in front of everyone. And the fact that you're doing this, having just started at UCLA, I think is really incredible. So I think you did a great job today. And I will be voting yes.
Kiara.
Hi there. To second all what they have said as well, thank you for being here tonight and it being your like first week here and having already, a passion for contributing positively to the student body and learning about this the legislation on campus and the policies. I think that passion and that like curiosity that I learned through your question or through your responses to the questions, I think will positively drive you to, fill in those gaps in like learning, everything you can about those policies on campus and everything to make sure that, you can fulfill all of the goals that you discussed tonight. And so, yeah, I enjoyed hearing your answers and I think the passion you have that brought you here to be here during your week one and hope and to want to join the legislative assembly will benefit you well by learning as much as you can to do well in the position.
Thank you, Kiara. Seeing as there are oh, I didn't see you. The lap I was covering. Yeah, Mona.
Okay, so firstly, I want to start by saying how great it is to see incoming transfers seeking spots in the academic senate and overall leadership spaces on campus. Second, I think it's important to note that Chris Espino's appointments to this committee have been filled by Talia and Caitlin. So according to the bylaws and typical standard for this position and other academic senate positions, your position, Rebecca, in this committee can either be one of my appointments or Tamim's appointment. And as a transfer student, it would make sense for Rebecca to be my appointment. Saying that, I did not move forward Rebecca to ARC or afterwards to council because Chris did, as we believed it was his appointment. Before I knew you were my appointment, Rebecca, I voted yes at the ARC interview with the intent of learning more specifically about your experiences in student government at this council interview, and if as your experience is amazing, vote based on that. I believe you are an amazing student and will create a lot of change on campus based on your goals and what I learned about you at the ARC interview. However, considering your answers here tonight, I don't think that I would vote yes for you at this time. I believe in growth, and I know that as you accumulate to UCLA, I'm sure that whether it's for this position later on in the road or for a different position, I know you will be an amazing leader and accomplish great change. However, just generally when it comes to my appointments, I believe in taking them seriously in a sense that especially for this committee, it's one where I think when our words can be taken at face value in certain spaces, it's important to start off analytically. And while I believe that you will make great change and will have an amazing impact on campus, in fact, I'm so excited to see what you will be doing like this upcoming year and the next year, and whether that does end up being in this space or the next. I can't vote yes tonight. And yeah, but like I genuinely want to see you thrive, and I would love to talk more about different spaces on campus because I think you would really thrive later afterwards or at a different point through email. I believe you have my email. But yeah, that's my comment, and yeah, that's my deliberation.
Okay, so per the bylaws, if Chris doesn't have any more open spots and Mona isn't the one that brought the appointment forward, we're not allowed to vote on it. But I'm just gonna get confirmation that Chris Espino, you can go ahead and talk, but I'm gonna confirm that Chris Espino doesn't have any more appointments to the Academic Senate Legislative Assembly. But go ahead, Chris.
Yeah, so I'm working based off of the workflow and forward based off of the workflow. Mona's saying that no, I forward what is sent to me via the workflow. So if it's saying that I have no more appointments, then I guess delegate Mona's discretion, I guess. So
Okay, just give us a second. We're gonna
Yeah.
confirm whether.
leave two, my two, yeah.
Sorry. And you've already done two.
Okay. So if like the workflow sends me an email saying, hey, like, view this.
That was a mistake. It's someone assigning.
Okay. So can we move her forward for a different committee or?
Not now, but
Okay.
if I'm so sorry, Becca. I know you probably don't understand what's going on. I barely understand what's going on.
Yes.
But basically what's happening is that each one of us has a certain number of appointments. Chris Espino used up all his appointments and accidentally moved you forward, even though he doesn't have any more appointments. Mona has an appointment left. But regardless of whether Mona wanted to or not, we can't even vote on it today. However, I do highly encourage you to reapply. I think there's a lot of interest, and I'm sure Chris Espino is going to be reaching out to you for another appointment. I'm so sorry we had to go through all of this. Thank you so much for coming today. I'm going to be following up with you as well. I'm so sorry. But thank you for coming and talking to us. Can we clap for her anyways? Because I'm so sorry all of that happened. We should have checked before. That's it for appointments today. We're gonna be moving on to officer reports. I'm gonna start off. I have a lot, but I'm just gonna speed run it. I went to all my meetings that I usually go to: student leaders check-in, campus safety meetings, all the committees I see sit on: True Bruin Values Re-steering Committee, Sustainability Committee, On-House Task Force, Campus Safety Alliance, Campus Safety Oversight Committee. I attended Orlando and Lori's exec check-ins with IVP and EVP. We talked to a merch provider, and we're gonna be working on them for merch. I met with the new development manager at ASUCLA along with Jonathan and Jessica, and we discussed sponsorship details and how we're gonna work together moving forward. I attended the monthly meeting with Michael Beck. We discussed TPM and other policy changes. I met with Chancellor Designate Julio Frank. We discussed challenges that undergraduate students face, and we established a relationship moving forward. Met with Westcom, Joinable, discussed possible sponsorships between USAC/OP and each of their companies. And I continued working on potential sponsorships with some other companies. I prepared my chancellor's welcome speech. I met with student affairs media team and discussed collaboration throughout the upcoming year. Participated in Association of Big Ten Students duties, including meetings and some resolutions. Had dinner with Josiah and Sonia, who are the student regents and designates. We discussed some system-wide issues. I attended the student advocate to the regents training by UCSA to prepare for the regents meeting. I attended the regents meeting and had conversations with multiple regents and chancellors about issues affecting students. Attended all the USAC meetings, helped with coordinating move outs, assignments, and other discussions. Had our weekly meetings with Pamela, EVP, IVP, discussed issues surrounding ASUCLA and issues between the entities, had all the good clothes, good people conversations, gave my chancellor's welcome speech, attended the block party with Chancellor Hunt and Vice Chancellor Gordon, met a lot of students, attended EAF, tabled for OP and USAC, filmed a bunch of videos with Good Morning UCLA, attended Bruin Brass Recfest, hosted USAC open house, attended campus admission spotlight, gave a speech, attended a bunch of cultural club events, helped plan and host LSA fundraiser, planning more events, and I have a meeting with Vice Chancellor Monroe this Thursday that I'm preparing for. Next, we have Josh.
Sounds good. So RCAT 9 interviews this week. Thank you, Mona and Diego, for helping out with those. We also had a CRC meeting this week to review 2 proposed bylaw changes, which you all should see on the agenda tonight. I also attended a meeting with GSA, Pamela, GCGP, and a few council members to discuss the potential rehousing option for GCGP. We also did a tour with a few different potential rehousing options for GCGP. I also attended the meeting with Vice Chancellor Beck and several council members today to discuss concerns with UCLA's new TPM policies. I attended a preliminary meeting with CPO, SWC, and ISR to advocate for the implementation of a permanent grocery store gift card program to support international and undocumented students. And we'll be following up with UCSD's Basic Needs Director afterwards to discuss how we can implement this program financially. And then I also collaborated with Alex to discuss our collaboration for our Learn to Ride event with UCLA Transportation. I attended EAF and the USAC Open House, as well as the Dashu Center's Welcome Fair to table for IBP, as well as recruit for our community integration program in collaboration with TSR. IBP hosted our first in-person all-staff meeting where we laid out expectations for fall quarter and began to develop plans for fall quarter. My institutionalized events committee hosted our Suncatchers baking event in collaboration with Meet the Hill. And we also had a discussion with On-Campus Housing Council about potentially making an MOU between USAC and OCHC so that way we can effectively plan and co-program for events in the future. My Material Needs Committee hosted a workshop on club funding, and they hosted another workshop in conjunction with UCLA's Financial Wellness Office on loans and personal financial wellness. And then my Material Needs Directors also attended the initial meeting for the Coalition of Basic Needs, and we discussed ways that we contribute to a cohesive basic needs guide. In terms of action items, I have a meeting with ABC CEPLO on Friday with my administrative liaison directors to discuss safety on the Hill and mental health services on campus. Campus Safety Alliance is having our first town hall on October 18th at 4 p.m. We will be primarily focusing on discussing UCLA's TPM policies, and I'm meeting with some of my staff this week to discuss plans for our first town hall, and I'm also meeting with SWC's Assistant Commissioner and an overdose this week to discuss ways we can collaborate.
Thank you, Josh. Next, we have Javier.
Hi, everyone. First off, announcements. Applications to UCSA's appointed officer roles are still live. The application description can be found on my officer report. We are currently looking for the caucus and committee appointed officer position and the UC SHIP AO position, as well as our applications for EVP Student Lobby Corps is currently live through October 18th. Feel free to apply. Please share. Anyone is welcome to apply. Bruinsville Ambassador Program applications are also live. The application is there and it is currently rolling through November 5th for folks who are interested in getting more involved in our civic engagement component. In terms of my officer report, EVP and members of my office attended the UC Board of Regents meeting at UCLA to express opposition of system-wide policies against protests and to improve the purchase of military weapons for UCPD through Assembly Bill 481. We also attended the USN Vigil for Opportunity for All alongside Gen Rep 1 prior to its veto, and with Gen Rep 1 Diego and USN representatives met with the staff of City Council Member Hugo Soto Martinez to discuss a citywide resolution in support of Opportunity for All. Access and Retention and EVP met with the African Student Union to discuss potential collaboration and intention with our MO platform for this year, and to establish a working relationship with the organization. We tabled at the Enormous Activity Fair and promoted our 3 components, our Fall Fellowship, Bruinsville, and Student Lobby Corps. Engaged in EAF outreach to several student organizations to establish a connection to the resources and people that EVP has to offer, including our Bruin Advocacy Grant, and we're currently working to establish meetings with different organizations that are curious. We participated in the USAC Open House to promote our 3 components and inform our undergraduate students about the role of EVP and USAC. I participated in the LGBTQ Campus Resource Center's annual Fall Welcome event, Cookies and Queers, where we connected the Outreach and Advocacy Committee to EVP to further to discuss further LGBTQ plus advocacy efforts through our office. I also began a relationship with the EVP of Swipe Out Hunger to support undocumented international students' basic needs through UCSA. I also contributed to GemRep 2's resolutions on updated TPM policies and UC compliance with AB 481. Also held the inaugural EVP internal retreat with 45 of our staffers, where we had a variety of trainings, including but not limited to an anti-racism training that I'm hoping to bring to council soon, MO history and collaborative planning, timelining, and more. Access and Retention EVP met with the professional staff at the Burn Resource Center as an introduction and to identify key issues of the student communities that they serve. We're planning an advocacy and community luncheon event for week 5. Going to be meeting with UCSA professional staff to recap the meeting that EVPs had with UC President Michael Drake this past week to discuss free speech, new system-wide directives surrounding protests, and more. And we're preparing UCLA delegation to attend the October UCSA meeting this weekend at UC Riverside. I also sponsored a resolution endorsing city measures DD and LL, which I'll be talking about later during this meeting. We're also working with the Disabled Student Union to develop a special presentation for council on web accessibility. We're also working with the UC Office of the President and UCSA to host the UC Wellness Summit in late October here at UCLA. And in terms of meetings, we're currently in the process of rescheduling our campus safety meetings with Rick Brazil, GSA, and USAC Exec for the fall. We're also working to secure EVP's monthly meetings with Vice Chancellor Student Affairs Monroe Gordon. And also reviewing notes from USAC's monthly meeting with ABC Michael Beck for the month of October, as I was unable to attend today. And I'm also working with Facility Commissioner Alex to set up a meeting with the Disabled Student Union to discuss further collaboration. And in terms of final upcoming things, we're going to be tabling at the Labor Studies Open House next Tuesday. We are also going to be in attendance in the SDC for All Open House next Tuesday as well in the evening. As well as participating in the UCLA Government and Community Relations offices, understanding key 2024 ballot measures on Wednesday. And that is it from me.
Thank you. Next we have Diego.
Hi, hi everyone. I'm just gonna be letting you know to please check my written report. But I do want to highlight 2 things. Please come to the Latinx welcome meeting. It's October 15th from 4 to 6 p.m. Please share an RSVP. The second thing I wanted to highlight is that my staff is planning an undocumented student health fair set for the late fall 2024. We're currently collecting staff and faculty information and working on a directory. We've outreached so far to the SEMO HCI Center for support. If you know any contacts in specific, please feel free to reach out. And that should be it.
Thanks, Diego. Next we have Tommy.
All mine updates are in the written report, so
Thank you,
please check that
Tommy.
out.
Next we have Chris Ramsey.
You can read them in the written report.
Thank you, Chris Ramsey. We have Chris Espino.
Please refer to my written report.
Thank you, Robbie.
Refer to my written report, but Bruin Bash is over. Amen. Thank God. Hallelujah. All of the above. Shout out everyone on CEC and CAC and admin who helped do that. Same with EAF. War is also over there. Guys, we're on the up. Also, last thing, I added entertainment recommendations to my update. I know that I'm not supposed to probably, but I don't care, so I'm going to do it. So you can look every week. There's a song, a speaker, and a movie. So that's just a little funness for me. And then the rest is written. Sorry. Okay, bye.
It's your report. You can do whatever you want. Sheridan.
Hi. Okay, some quick updates. So tomorrow is our annual Survocacy Fest happening from 4 to 7 p.m. in Wilson Plaza. This is an interactive fair with 35 service and advocacy organizations, and there'll be free food, prizes, live performances from students. No RCP needed, just show up and please share our post on that. We also have Volunteer Day coming up, which is another huge event. That's this Saturday, October 5th. There's still some sites open if you want to come and bring your friends. And something new this year is we have transfer specific sites where transfers can come and they're prioritized for those. So if you know any transfers, let them know. And then lastly, I mean, you can actually wait, not lastly, sorry, a couple more things. We opened up CSC funding bodies. So the Supplemental Fund for Service and CS Transpo, spread the word to any student organizations. And lastly, I have continued discussions about the Basic Needs Redistribution Center with Good Close Good People, fellow council members here, as well as ASUCLA admin and GSA about some rehousing options. Stay tuned for more information. There may be some action on our part sometime soon. But yeah, the rest is in my written report.
Thank you, Carolyn. Next, we have Alicia.
Hi, only written updates from me.
Thank you, Alicia. Next, we have Alex.
Hi, yes, I'll say most of it is in my written report. Yes, I'm collabing with IVP for a Learn to Ride event for incoming freshmen and transfers, or anyone who's interested in Learn to Ride, honestly. And I think that's all I'll say for now, but yes, the rest is in my report.
Nico.
Hi, everyone. FSC is now doing our quarterly lab coat rentals for free. If you know anyone who needs a free lab coat for the quarter, let them know that FSC is handling that since it's like $80. And then also we're still working with the brewing card office to try and discount the cost of replacement brewing cards. We're having issues there, but they will be resolved.
Thank you, Nico. Sorry. Next, we have Kiara.
Let's see. So for most of it can refer to my officer report. Let's see. Like, yeah, I did a lot of tabling last week. A few things I want to highlight. Let's see. Yeah, attended the monthly Healthy Campus Initiative meeting, talking about wellness, the well-being on campus at different levels across students, graduate, and staff, and where students are lacking in resources and community. Met with ISR's wellness director and talked about potential collaborations this year. A few of the resolutions, talked about a few co-sponsoring a few of the resolutions that will be discussed tonight. And then we had a successful first Massage Mondays yesterday. So we had at least 66 students come and get one. So that's every Monday, weeks 1 through 10, in Kirchhoff Grand Salon. So please go get one if you can. Any of the Mondays. So that was successful. I want to highlight our internship application is open. Applications will close October 9th. And yeah, so those are currently live. And then other thing, I've mentioned this before, but Health Coming is October 16th. That's our health festival in Wilson Plaza from 3 to 6 p.m. We'll have our committees, various health services, as well as we expanded to basic needs groups this year, also those that are identity-based on campus, giving out also free resources, tabling about their services, and more. So please share once we put those graphics up, and hope to see you all there.
Thank you, Kiara. I don't think Mona is here. So I think, yeah, last but not least, we have Tamim.
I'll keep it short. Like, I just want to highlight that Winds Around the World is in the works. So that is on November 19th. We have invited cultural organizations to participate in the event. So if you know any cultural orgs that would like to present at Cavell Commons, please send them the link. And we're also looking for international speakers who can share their international experiences at the program. The rest of my officer report can be referred to as written report. Thank you.
Thanks, Tamim. Now we're gonna go to admin reps with Orlando.
Hello. Hello, everyone. Welcome back, week one. The update is, and I mentioned this last time, SOL is currently re-registering organizations. So please re-register. All of you are a registered campus organization, your individual offices. So you need to register through SOL and assign 3 signatories, as well as attend a 15-minute online workshop, all 3 signatories, and update your individual constitution with some new language that we provided you all. If you have any questions, go ahead, Chris.
How many organizations does one SOL advisor usually oversee? Do you know?
Sorry,
No.
that varies depending on circumstances, types of groups. For instance, Pam Seisner probably advises one of the lower ends, but she advises most of the community service projects. So even though her numbers are a little low, she has a big group and a lot of programming. So it just depends. If you're a new advisor, you tend, get X amount. Myself, I've been one of the advisors that's been there a while, and I probably advise the advisor that has the most groups at 180. So it ranges from about 100 to 180 groups.
Okay, thank you so much.
Yeah.
Hey, did you say 800?
No, there's about 1,300 groups
Uh-huh.
altogether,
Yeah, yeah.
and so I advise about 180.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah.
Perfect. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Along those same lines, if you or know someone that is registering a new group or wants to register a new group, it could, any kind of group can be registered, from social, academic, career, cultural. It's really up to you. But if that deadline is next Friday, I'll remind you all again on next Tuesday. But yeah, just registration. And then Days of Soul is our opportunity, the Soul office, to highlight all these workshops in our office. So in addition to us offering new org workshops, we also offer funding workshops, grad student workshops, and it'll be a 2-day event, week 3, Wednesday and Thursday, Wednesday being in person, and then Thursday being all virtual for those that can't make the in person. But yeah, you're all welcome to attend. If you have any questions, please shoot me an email or you can ask me now.
Hi. Okay, I have a question. It's not directly related to re-registering, but it's kind of a question for all of you. So are like committees under SWCL also registered? Sorry, this doesn't exactly have to do, this doesn't have to do with registering, but it has to do with office access. Is that, yeah, sorry, it's not exactly, I'm not sure who would answer this, but are we able to give office access to those within our like committees that are like sole registered orgs? That was like, we had our like general meeting tonight, and that was a question that came up from our directors who sit on the commission, and I wanted to check before we expand access to the office.
You want to take that? Yeah. The short
yeah.
answer is yes, and Jonathan will elaborate when it says that.
I wanted to ask before I forgot, so thank you.
No, appreciate that. Question?
Yeah, wait, mine's kind of specific to me, but I was clicking through the registration. I think I clicked re-register without changing the constitution. Do we need to change the constitution to reflect any of those new guidelines, or is it fine? Or should I just send you that?
You do need to update your
Okay.
constitution. That language is on the Soul website when with the re-registration instructions. There's a link on there that you can click on, and it gives you the specific language. You can cut and paste it into your document. So if you already
Yeah, I
re-registered,
think I did.
your Soul advisor will kick it back to you,
Okay.
asking you to add that language.
Okay,
But
we'll
if you
add it.
already know it, you may want to reach out to your.
I'll reach out to Pam. Yeah,
Yeah,
sounds
Pam.
good. Thank you.
Chris? All right. That's the only updates I have. Thank you.
Sounds good. Thank you, Orlando. I'm gonna be reading Jessica's updates for her. I think they're mostly program updates. United in Democracy 3-part series, October 4th, October 11th, 11:30 to 2 p.m. There's gonna be food and a lot happening. It was funded by the Voice Initiative grant. This week's programs include Wellness Wednesday, October 2nd, 11 to 2 in the Fun Zone. Noon Tunes, 12 to 1, Thursday, October 3rd. KGS, Patio, and every Monday, Massage Mondays. We are collaborating with the Student Wellness Commission from 12 to 3 and KGS. I saw the line for that. There was so many people. Next week programs, Noon Tunes, Wag the Dog, Court of Sciences, Snacks and Dogs to Pets. That's cute. And United in Democracy investigating the media on the 11th. Big thank you to CAC and CAC. I think we should all clap for them for Burn Bash and EAF. And shout out Josh. Josh here. Thank you, Josh. And we are gonna move on to Lori. Oh, sorry, Robbie, before.
Sorry, Lori. Question for anyone at that table, kind of similar vibe as all the questions, apparently. When can we get more information on how to fill out the new rec form? Because I am confused. Okay, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Okay, I'll shut up. Sorry.
For the magic. Jonathan is magic. Just wait for the magic. Since everyone needs Jonathan, I also have no updates, and I apologize. I'm a little punchy because I just gave blood right before the meeting. So it's my
Thank you. Thank you to Lori for helping with Bruin Bash and EF. And last but not least, we have Jonathan.
Hey, hi, hello. The moment you've all been waiting for, I'm sure. Welcome back. It is fantastic to see you all here in person. I do have a decent-ish list today for you. First, if you have not sent your office application to HR for review yet, please do so as soon as possible. That is required. If you have not sent me your funding body chair names and emails, I am missing ASRF, TGMF, and ARC. Please do so ASAP. I need that in order to get you access to the allocation sheet. So before you all can allocate anything, I need to know who those people are. And we're also going to be doing some specific funding body chair trainings. So we'll need that info as well. Speaking of editing your constitutions, your office constitutions, please send those my way. I looked in our files and we have not a singular record of any of them at all. But apparently you all have them.
Oh, our constitutions are just the USAC constitution.
That's all they have you do?
According to according to the websites, according to what we have on record with Seoul, I think everyone has their constitution as the USAC constitution, if I'm not wrong. So I don't know how that's gonna work.
Orlando?
Like I know ISR doesn't have one and OP doesn't have one. And yeah, I think for all of us it's just the USAC constitution.
I know SWC does have one. Okay. Well, we'll put a pin in that one then, and you can ignore me on that one for now. Interesting. Interesting. Yeah. Right. For office access, if you are CEC or SWC, really doesn't apply to anyone else, but CSE has already done so. You can send like an Excel sheet that only you can edit with the names and office numbers of people that should be given access. If you're gonna, yeah, we can also connect offline, but essentially you're just gonna send us a list of who you want to be added as opposed to signing 100+ forms.
Gotcha. Are there any regulations though about like number of people or who? Okay.
That's up to you.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yes, Chris. Microphone.
I mean, it's awesome. Listen to me. All right. So Excel sheet with the name of everyone.
Not for you, sorry.
Oh.
That's only for SWC or CSC because they have so many people. Everyone else needs to sign all of their forms.
What if I want like 100 people to have access to that?
No, probably not. But in terms of signing things for your offices, please also be on the lookout now that hopefully your signatories are updated. I will be sending over your OSAC contracts as you all are OSAC offices that you all have approved already. You know, you all are subject to the same OSAC regulations.
Are they gonna check our office once a week?
Yep, your offices will be audited
Because
every
mine's
single
always
week.
disgusting.
That is absolutely fair and is 1,000,000% needed for safety. I promise that there's a good handful of your offices that are unsafe, and we do have to rectify that. But you all will need to sign those contracts. So those will be coming your way via DocuSign. Yes, Adam.
Can we make sure that there's a fire extinguisher in every room?
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Yeah. We can connect on all that offline.
Yes.
Okay.
For if you haven't submitted your funding guidelines, please do so. Great to see a couple more on here. Do you want to talk briefly about the funding allocation sheet? So I sent to Josh the one for fall, which should be updated on the agenda. So per your bylaws, I'll read it right here. Fund allocation requests will be treated as action items and therefore must be distributed with the agenda packet 2 school days prior to the meeting at which they are to be considered. And fund allocation recommendations are to include a summary line item breakdown of the original request, which is what that funding allocation sheet does. So if you have funding allocations, they must be in that sheet 2 school days prior to the council meeting in order for them to be considered here. That is also the sheet then that SGA will utilize to cross-reference what allocations have been approved. And we will work directly with the funding chairs to let you all know the steps once these are approved, what happens after that, the whole getting your codes and all such. But for you all, everything has to go into that universal allocation sheet. If you have a fund, you will be given access to your specific sheet, and your chair will be given access to that specific sheet. No one else gets access to those sheets, no one else in your office, just those two people. That is what is appropriate in terms of presenting your funds here. And let us know if you have any questions on that. Also speaking of funding, so the Rex, yes, I know Jessica, yeah, Ravi. Jessica will also send just like some general stuff, but just to give you a brief overview of the adjusted process nowadays. So when you go onto the USAC website, there's now separate forms depending on the type of requisition. So you need to know which type of requisition you're going to be doing. Excuse me, which you would have to do anyway. Choose that right form, and then you fill out your rec as you normally would, right? The only difference in the rec actual filling out, the order is a little different, it looks a little different, but all the same info is there. The difference now for the preparer is that the preparer is going to sign online on the form during submission. And then once the preparer submits, that rec is actually going to go to SGA first. So as opposed to having you all, go through your signature processes, and then it gets to SGA, and then we realize, oh, they never had their backup documents, they never had their contract, and it gets stuck at the SGA process, and it can take weeks. Instead, now once your rec form is submit, SGA was going to audit that form, let you know if there's any issues. If there is any issues, it will get kicked back to the preparer before it gets any other signatures. Before it comes to you, before it goes to FICOM, all the problems with that rec have to be fixed first. And then once you get that go ahead from SGA, they'll send you that PDF form. The preparer then needs to get the fund chair to sign as you normally would. So in many cases, that's you all. And then that fund chair needs to get FICOM to sign, and then FICOM will send to SGA. The hope here is that by the time it gets to FICOM and then FICOM gets it to SGA, it can just immediately go into the processing queue and your check can get cut much quicker. And we've addressed all the issues with any of you with you filling out the form prior to you getting to that step where it's actually trying to get processed through SGA's hands. Does that make sense? Are there any immediate questions there? Jessica, again, will send out more and we'll be around to answer more questions, but yes.
I okay. I don't know. Maybe I just need to like have more experience with it because I've also been really confused filling them out recently. But I feel like with SGA's like lack of efficiency in regards to Rex, I I think it's counterintuitive to go backwards on the process because if we do everything on our end, like as the students requisitioning the money, um, and then SGA takes care of like potential later issues with like, the supporting documents needed or whatever details were wrong on the requisition. I feel like that works better I don't know. I don't know if other people have thoughts on the process of like changing the order of how a rec should work, but I was just wondering like if there's any way like if you guys have any thoughts on the process, if you've done recs too, like if you think that it would work better the way we had it before. Not that I know that we could change it. I just mean like I feel like SGA will be slow still because there's a lot of institutional issues with staffing just that SGA goes through. So that's my only concern.
Yeah, I appreciate your insight. This is how it's going to work this quarter. And the goal is to see if this can improve our efficiency. So if it doesn't, then we'll, look back and see what that may look like. But this is how we're going to do it for now. Okay, anything else? Cool. I do have a couple more things. I'm almost done.
Wait, Jonathan, sorry.
Yes.
Wait, just wanting to clarify because I've been really confused by this. So we fill out the rec form, then it gets sent to SGA. first.
Mhm.
They check if there's anything wrong. How will we know? And then they'll send back a PDF for us to then send, or like
Yes.
what if that takes a really long time? I mean, I guess yeah, I kind of agree with Alicia's concerns. Like I'm not like it. We just have to wait for that to come back, even if it's perfectly fine the first time around.
Yes. Yeah. So,
Okay.
I mean, the thought is that, we have plenty of students on. We have been working really hard to address efficiency. So, the thought is that we'll get that audit done quick if there's problems, and if there's not, you'll get that info back.
Okay.
But yeah, I encourage you all to trust the process and see how it plays out. And then we'll be happy to hear your feedback as it plays out. But yeah, trying new things can be hard sometimes, but hopefully it'll be good for us.
Okay.
I'm going to move on for now because this isn't really a time for us to debate about Rex, but we can connect offline if you'd like to talk more. I also want to quickly go over your attendance again. So you have 3 meetings per quarter that you can miss. Attendance is going to be is per your bylaws, must be signed within the first 20 minutes of your scheduled posted meeting time. So by 7:20, and then must again be signed at the last agenda item. So I will pass this around again once you get to your last agenda item, and you have to have both signatures for that to count as a meeting that you were present here for your attendance. Every meeting beyond 3 is 1 stipend check that gets taken from you and gets put into contingency instead. Next thing is hiring. If you have staff that you hire now, you're not like an office that like waits to potentially get surplus for, please send me the list of names and emails of the people you are wanting to send hiring forms to, along with if they're supposed to be getting paid bi-weekly or quarterly. And then we will send out hiring referral forms. Those forms are going to require you as the hiring officer to fill out that form first. Once you fill out that form with the information that, what they're getting paid, et cetera, then it'll go on to the student. And once the student gets it, it'll go on to FICOM. And once FICOM is done, then it'll go to SGA. And then SGA will pass that on to HR. And then HR will initiate the hiring process there. Any questions? Yeah.
All right, just to confirm, if we wait for surplus to hire people, we don't have to, we just hire people and they're just like there, we don't fill out any form.
Yes, correct. So anyone that you hire now is, and this goes for everyone, anyone that you have, done an application for and accepted into your office is officially a volunteer. And they are a volunteer until their UC Path transaction goes through and they are considered a UC employee. So yes, if you do not have the funds to start paying someone now and you're going to wait, those people will be considered volunteers until then, and you cannot promise them any pay. We don't do any back pay either. So any potential pay that you would get would be for like say spring quarter, right?
Okay, thank you.
Yes.
Quick question. I have a lot of international students in my office, so I just wanted to check if there's anything different I need to do at this stage or if you'll just reach out to them. Okay.
Okay. Next, don't forget if you are going off campus for a retreat or anything else that a waiver is required and will be needed as your attendance list when you submit requisition forms. So the waiver request form is in the Slack. It's also in your welcome documents that you got a while back. It does have to be created by a professional staff member. So that will be me. And I'll get that turned around to you quick. But waivers are required. And last, we do now have a alumni representative. You all have an alumni advisor. So Peter, his name is Peter Trin. He will be joining our advising team. We worked with the Alumni Association to make that appointment. He is going to come week 3 to your meeting here. And I'll have Josh put him on the agenda for a short special presentation just to introduce himself and kind of what his role is going to look like here with you all. And he also expressed that he's going to have he either or his office is going to reach out to you all individually to maybe set up some one-on-one meetings just to get to know you all and see how he can support you best as your alumni rep. So be on the lookout for that. And now that you're here on campus, please stop by the office. We're just right over here. Yeah, that way, but behind the window. Would love to see you at any time.
Chris Espino.
Hey, Jonathan, quick question. What, just out of curiosity, what year did you say Josh or
Peter.
Peter serve? Sorry. What year did Peter serve on USAC? I'm just curious. Do you know?
I don't know off the
Okay.
top of my head, but it is, yeah, it was SWC before my time. He actually started Dance Marathon and Bruin Run Walk was a part of that. Yeah, so you'll learn more about him as time goes on.
What is his name?
Peter Trin.
One
Avi?
second.
Sorry, just really quick back to the whole SJA thing and everything. Does council have any say regarding like the SJA policies? We're just wondering about like why this potentially new like way of doing things was made without like first consulting with us.
Yeah. So SGA is not beholden to any of your guiding documents or policies. We are a separate professional staff, and we are at the discretion of the student union in terms of our policies and the board. So, no, you do not have say over the SGA policies. Again, let's connect on this offline. I am not the like person here to be talking about SGA. So let's put a pin in all of this and let's connect later.
Okay, I guess we're gonna move on then. Yes, Alicia.
Well, if Jonathan doesn't want to answer questions, then can I ask you questions?
Of course.
Do you do you think we could do something about this in terms of getting our BOD appointments to enforce some sort of, I don't know, guideline or vote in regards to SGA policies being changed? Do you think we could do something through that regard? Because if they're not like at our jurisdiction directly, indirectly they are via ACCLA. So I just wanted to bring that up.
Yeah, I think we should definitely talk about that and see what we can do. I know we can't officially do anything on paper per bylaws, but I think we should talk. I think Pamela's gonna have a lot of say, and then if that doesn't work out with what we want to talk about and potentially change, then we could definitely bring it up to our BOD reps and go from there. That sounds good.
Yeah, thank you.
Pamela.
Good evening, USAC. This is Pamela. Yes, we can definitely meet and talk about it, your concerns. It can be with Adam or any member on council that would like to meet with me to talk about it. I know we have strike the presentation, but I would love to meet with everyone with your concerns before that presentation.
Thank you, Pamela. We're gonna move on now to new business, starting with an Article 4 bylaw change by Javier. Javi, at your discretion, either read through it or describe it, whatever you want.
Didn't realize we were at this point of the council meeting yet. Cool. Yes, this Article 4 bylaw change is specific to EVP's funding body, the Burden Advocacy Grant. More specifically, just like adding some more language in terms of like what type of funding categories we have. So we have added supplemental applications to two mini grants. First one being Access and Retention, which seeks to provide funding for student campaigns that increase awareness of the disparities in access to academia and highlight the need for identity-specific programs to support the well-being of underrepresented students at UCLA. And the Grassroots Organizers for Working Students Grant, otherwise known as GROWS. This is already like an existing funding body or one that has existed in previous years. But we are choosing to remove it as its own separate funding body, which is like seen at the end of this bylaw change. Instead, put it into a mini grant within the Bruin Advocacy Grant. That would also mean that the $5,000 that was originally allocated towards the GROWS grant in previous years would be absorbed into BAG, increasing it by whatever amount. Or increasing it to whatever amount it is now going to be. I cannot remember off the top of my head because it is late. Yeah, and then the bylaw goes on to say that the A&R mini grant shall have 10% of the total allocation set aside to provide funding for these efforts, and the gross mini grant shall have 5%. Maximum allocation for a total party, no more than $2,000. Cool. It also establishes a bag hearing committee. I just want to highlight this. It will be composed of the Director of Advocacy Grants in my office, as well as 2 undergraduate students appointed by application with experience in and or working knowledge of at least one campus mother organization. 2 undergraduate students appointed by application with knowledge of advocacy, either grassroots or at the university, local, state, and federal levels, with a preference for at least one position with additional knowledge of labor organizing. And then the rest of it just goes on to define the roles, term, and like standing of the committee chair, member qualification on the hearing committee, and also policy put in place to prevent conflict of interest during allocations. And then, as I mentioned, last but not least, we have officially killed the GROWS grant as its own standalone grant because it is now going to be absorbed into BAG. But yeah, that's it for the bylaw change. Any questions? Cool.
Thank you, Javi. Since this is a bylaw change, we're going to be voting on it next time. We're going to move on to a Article 7 bylaw change by Muna. Muna, either read through it all or summarize it, whatever you want.
Okay, yeah. So I will read through it. And just to contextualize, this bylaw change is written in light of the fact that COVID cases are rising and I believe in prioritizing student health. And so the bylaw change reads, for the 2024-2025 academic year, the following criteria surrounding health and masking must also be met by the requesting student organization. So this falls under the criteria section of the bylaws for finances. And then it reads, active promotion and encouragement of masking through the inclusion of the following guidance and any interest forms, captions, or other forms of promotion that the audience is intended to see in a clear and accessible way prior to the event. And it reads essentially, registered student organization name is committed to holding safer and more accessible events and practicing intersectional disability justice. For the safety and accessibility of this event, high quality masking, N95, KN95, KF94 are strongly preferred. Masks can be found at these locations on campus, thanks to the Disabled Student Union's advocacy. And then it has the link. And then it says, do not attend the event in person if you are feeling symptomatic or ill, if you have tested positive for COVID-19 in the last 2 weeks, or if you've had a close contact exposure to COVID-19. We also recommend taking a COVID test before the event. UCLA still offers free PCR testing and also offers rapid testing, not free, and details can be found here. And then it provides the link. And then the second subsection of this new requirement would be advocating and encouraging attendees of their events to wear a mask at any check-ins and in any announcements made at the event. And then the third one reads, including masking is highly encouraged in any promotional graphics. And then the second requirement reads, prioritization of the health of attendees and participants through either providing high-quality masks or obtaining high-quality masks ahead of time through the locations listed on the UCLA COVID-19 and Vaccines Resources webpage. And then the third requirement reads, PCR testing, which is still available for free at UCLA, to be taken by all participants engaging in multi-day off-campus activities, including but not limited to conferences, retreats, and presentations, both prior and after the activities. And then the subsections, it says, COVID-19 tests should be taken within 48 hours before the multi-day off-campus activity starts. Submission of COVID-19 test results should be to the student organization board in charge of the activity beforehand. And the third one reads, if test results should be submitted for requisition forms, the tests should be submitted without any personal identifying information visible. And so essentially, like, really quick summary of all that, the goal is to encourage student organizations to highlight and promote masking for the sake of the health of attendees and the campus as a whole without adding financial burden to the student organizations by really promoting the free resources we already have here at UCLA available to students for this academic year. And yeah, so I've talked to a couple of council members about this in the process of writing it, as well as at least one person who is on a funding body regarding this, and have tried to make it in a way that highlights both of those goals, but ultimately would be open to hearing any other concerns that any students might have regarding this bylaw change. But yeah.
Thank you, Mona. So I'd like to start by giving some comments. I haven't had the time to read through it. This is my first time reading through it, so sorry that I didn't give some comments on it before. I'm all for the message and the goals of the bylaw change, but I do have some concerns in terms of the writing and how it's formatted. Firstly, obviously, management and tracking. I know you commented on that, but there should be something in there if we do want to implement this. My second main concern is the bylaw change is written with the current situation of UCLA in mind, and it's all written in a timeless manner. So for example, where we say in the third subsection where it said PCR testing, which is available for free at UCLA, it should say something PCR testing when it's available for free at UCLA, because then it's something that would be timeless and not just set in the current situation of UCLA. Also just a general thing, I don't think we should be including links to outside resources on our bylaws just because those links can change at any time, and we want to make sure that any information we're conveying in the bylaws are standardized and can be changed. Also, I'm just not sure how the requisition form thing will work out. I get the goal and I agree with the goal in the message, but I'm not sure if that's something that's even possible, which is something we should look into. But those are just some overarching comments. But for the most part, I agree with the message that's trying to be conveyed, if that makes sense, Mona. Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, so just first a quick clarifying question. Am I allowed to change the which is to when right now, or do I have
Yes.
to okay. So first, thank you so much for your comments. Definitely understand where you're coming from with everything. Second, also kind of clarifying question, the two links that are on here are UCLA website links, which is why they are included on here initially, and also as a whole is meant to be a bylaw change for this specific academic year, considering the current situation in which COVID-19 is currently rising, with the ultimate goal and hope that by the following school year, not only would COVID cases have dropped, but also the situation would have changed. But ultimately, like, thank you so much for your comments. And also, especially on the point on requisition forms, would definitely be open to having further conversations regarding making sure that is in line with the process for that and ensuring that it would be able to be implemented. But thank you. Yes.
Yeah. So just best practice for bylaw changes would be for them to be included permanently. Bylaw changes tend not to be things we can add and remove. Like, they shouldn't be things that we add and remove very easily. We should try and make them as universal as possible. Which is why also the links don't make that much sense, because who knows, maybe in 6 months UCLA takes this link down and then it's permanently in our bylaws. And so I think just conveying the information we want to convey that are included on the links would be best practice. There's something else I wanted to say, but I completely forgot. Wait, just give me a second. Oh, for funding guidelines, I might be wrong, but I think that if we pass them in our bylaws, then we have to reapprove all the funding guidelines to include these since they're in our bylaws. So that's just something to keep in mind for everyone that has a funding body. But besides that, that's it for me. Looking forward to any potential changes that make it more feasible. Thank you, Mona. Any other comments or questions? Yes, Lori.
It's been a long time as an event manager when asking for COVID test results. I think that should be clear on how those are submitted to the student group, just because it might be a HIPAA thing. I'm not a doctor, I don't know, but it's been a long time.
It's a HIPAA thing, and I think it might also be a FERPA thing that we have to look into before we can pass this. So I'm all for the message and making sure, like, we have to make sure that we're abiding by everything we have to abide by, if that makes sense, Mona. Yes, have you?
Yeah, thank you, Mona, for introducing this potential bylaw amendment and everything. Another thing that I want to make clear is that to my knowledge right now, the longevity of the free masking program is also at risk because it was not, it's currently set to not be funded anymore by administration. So we do have to somehow find like more money to be able to fund this initiative for the foreseeable future. I don't know the current timeline of when they are planning on no longer providing these resources to the student body. That is something that I'm currently trying to work out with my office with AVC CEPI. But yeah, that is also something that I fear needs to be amended in this bylaw, just to, yeah, for its longevity. Yeah.
Yeah, go ahead, Mano.
Okay, thank you everyone again for your comments. Definitely things to be considered for this. In terms of this not being as applicable to be a bylaw change because it isn't timeless, I was wondering what other avenues can we take to ensure that we are considering this aspect of health and COVID-19 when it comes to where we're allocating student money and into what types of event we're allocating it into without it being a bylaw change. Are there any other options that we can um, engage in that would essentially keep the spirit of promoting masking and promoting an increase in COVID-19 testing when it comes to these more longer like events that are off campus? Or yeah, is there any other options?
Yeah, so I just wanted to clarify that I don't think I'm necessarily opposed to it being a bylaw change, but just in its current state, it's not as fitting to be passed into the bylaws. For dictating what student orgs do, the only way we can do that is through our funding guidelines, because that's the only jurisdiction we have over student orgs, unless we want to go through Seoul, which I think is going to be a hectic and inefficient process. Sorry, Orlando. Um, okay, good. So I'm not saying we shouldn't do a bylaw change. I'm just saying we should look into some things to maybe change it possibly. Because this is the only way that we can make sure it's enforceable. Yes, Alex.
Hi. Oh, hi. Well, I mean, first I'll thank Mona. I gave a little bit of input on this bylaw change, but I mean, thank you so much for even just compiling all these resources and, taking action in the current state of COVID on our campus. I was gonna say, oh, sorry, I can't see you. I know TJF when applying, sorry, has like social media requirements built into the application. I don't know if it's in their funding guidelines, but we could do that. So for each like funding application, it's required because it like when you sign the TGIF contract, you say like I'll put the TGIF logo. I think you might have to tag them too. So I think that's something we could add in, and I'm definitely down to help you work on that.
Any other? Yes, Mano.
First, thank you so much, Alex, for your comment. We'll definitely reach out to see what we can discuss further in that regard. And then more broadly, definitely looking forward to implementing some of the comments and concerns brought up. I do want to acknowledge that like a lot of the inspiration for bringing this forward, in fact, did come from the Disabled Student Union and their overall advocacy for the initiatives that are linked in here. And it is saddening to hear, as Javi mentioned, that the funding for these initiatives might not continue considering this, but definitely want to take these notes into consideration, and we'll be reaching out to everyone who's commented on the bylaw change to see what we can do to either change this to be something that we can implement or look for a different way of promoting masking as a council, masking for the sake of health. I guess one really last quick question. Is it possible to make the changes on this bylaw change and still vote on it next week? Or would we? Okay, perfect. Thank you.
Yes, but it's also best practice if we don't change. Like usually it's small changes. So if there's major changes, I think it would be best practice for us to reintroduce it next week and then vote the meeting after. But yeah, if that makes sense. Any other questions or yeah, Josh.
I just had a quick logistical question. So if there's substantial changes, would CRC need to reconvene to vote
Yeah.
on it?
I think it's just gonna be treated as a new bylaw change. Sorry. Yes, Mona.
Sorry, I promised last time. Just wanted to say yes, definitely we'll do that second one and reintroduce it completely.
Thank you.
Sounds good. Thank you so much. Also, I just thought about this now. This specific language might be misinterpreted because events is general. It might not be just in-person events. So I think we should be specific to in-person events because there might be something online that doesn't require masking. Okay, thank you so much. We're gonna move on to item D by Tommy, which is a resolution calling for the immediate demilitarization of UCLA's campus and condemning the unanimous passing of agenda item C1, the UC compliance with State Assembly Bill 481 by the UC Regents. Tommy, if you want to read through it or summarize it, it's your choice.
Yeah, so both these resolutions are kind of a bit lengthy, so for the sake of everyone's time, I will opt to summarize. So for the C1 resolution, the resolution addresses the University of California Regents' approval of agenda item C1 at the September 18th and 19th Regents meeting, which aligns with California State Assembly Bill 481, allowing campus police to expand their use of military-grade equipment. This approval grants UCPD dangerous weapons such as drones, chemical agents, kinetic energy munitions, and rifles, posing a severe threat to student safety and well-being. It highlights how AB 41 enables the militarization of campus police without meaningful public engagement despite ostensibly transparent approval processes. The resolution criticizes the regents for approving these measures in a session that was quickly adjourned after being disrupted by pro-Palestine protesters, only to reconvene and pass the item with no public scrutiny. The resolution also condemns the regents for deploying riot police to suppress student protesters who were peacefully demonstrating against the university's investment in arms manufacturers and other genocidal entities, which led to further escalation and intimidation, particularly for marginalized students. It emphasizes the dangerous health implications of these weapons, including severe injuries and possible fatalities, and underscores past incidents in which student protesters suffered serious harm due to the disproportionate and violent responses by campus police and private security forces like Apex Security. Students, staff, and faculty have been hurt by this very equipment, used not for safety, but to suppress voices. Last spring, UCPD and campus security weaponized this military gear against peaceful demonstrators who chose to speak out against the ongoing genocide in Palestine, while people unaffiliated with the university were allowed to attack them. The approval of agenda item C1 is an assault on our right to free speech and peaceful protest. We should be investing in our education and not in tools of repression. UC priorities are grossly out of line, and this resolution demands UCLA stop militarizing our campus and start protecting the students they claim to serve. The resolution reaffirms USAC's condemnation of the Regent's approval of agenda item C1 and the deployment of riot police against peaceful protesters. It stands in solidarity with the protesters and demands the removal of Apex Security from student protest management, citing their history of violence and over-policing of marginalized communities. The resolution also calls for the disbanding of the Office of Campus Security, established by former Chancellor Gene Block, which has only increased fear and intimidation among students. The resolution further asserts that USAC will support injured protesters by assisting with medical care and jail support if future actions result in violence against students. It commits to supporting pro-Palestine activists' rights to protest and condemns actions by the university administration that put them in harm's way. USAC also demands full transparency and divestment from companies that profit from the oppression of marginalized people globally, including Lockheed Martin, BlackRock, and Blackstone. Finally, the resolution aligns with USAC's work with the liberation of Palestine and other occupied countries, advocating for peace and international security.
Thank you, Tommy. Does anyone have any questions or comments for Tommy before we move to a vote? Seeing none, could we please get a motion to vote on this resolution? Tamim?
I motion to move. Sorry. Okay, cool. I motion to approve the resolution calling for the immediate demilitarization of UCLA's campus and condemning the unanimous passing of agenda item C1, that is University of California compliance with State Assembly Bill 481.
I second.
Tamim motions, Diego seconds. All in favor, please raise your hands now. Please lower your hands. All against, please raise your hands. And all abstaining, please raise your hands. With a 14 to 0 vote, the resolution passes. Thank you all so much. We are now going to move on to Tommy's second resolution, agenda item E, titled A Resolution Condemning UCLA's Interim Time, Place, and Manner Policies. Same thing, Tommy. Read or summarize at your discretion.
All right. So this resolution strongly condemns UCLA's new time, place, and manner policies, which severely restrict students' right to protest on campus. Introduced on September 4th, 2024, these policies target specific tactics used by student activists, particularly pro-Palestine protests, such as encampments, temporary structures, and literature distribution, all of which now require prior approval or are banned. The policies also ban masks, putting disabled students at risk, and restrict protests to less than 2% of the campus only during certain hours. This effectively limits students' ability to voice dissent. The TPM policies also require event organizers to register events 10 days in advance and notify the university of potential protests, giving administrators broad discretion to cancel events and increase surveillance. These measures disproportionately impact marginalized student activists, including those from queer, undocumented, Latina, Black, Indigenous, and other communities of color, further suppressing their right to challenge systemic oppression. The resolution highlights the university's history of violence against peaceful protesters, including brutal actions by UCBD and private security forces like Apex Security. The increased security presence at protests only escalates the potential for violence, creating an atmosphere of fear and intimidation, especially for marginalized students. USAC calls for an immediate revision of these TPM policies to protect students' First Amendment rights, demanding the removal of vague and overly broad language that enables selective enforcement. The council also urges the administration to pause enforcement until meaningful consultation with student leaders takes place. The resolution encourages the campus community to engage in the public review process, and USAC commits to educational campaigns to ensure that students are informed about their rights and can effectively advocate for change. Finally, through the implementation of these policies, UCLA continues to expand its ongoing efforts to limit student free speech. This is a right that should not only be protected, but our university should be proud of. It is ultimately the heart of the UCLA community and the Bruin spirit that has a desire to promote peace and justice in the world. While this drive and heart is grown here in California, our impact extends well beyond the confines of our campus community. In this resolution, USAC reaffirms its unwavering support for student activism, particularly movements led by marginalized communities, and opposes any attempts to suppress their right to protest. The council is dedicated to protecting students from retaliation, surveillance, and repression, ensuring that UCLA remains a space for open, meaningful activism and dissent.
Thank you, Tommy. Does anyone have any questions or comments for Tommy? Seeing none, can we please get a motion to vote on this resolution? Oh, Robbie, is that a question or a motion? Actually, it doesn't matter. Robbie.
I motion to approve the resolution condemning UCLA's interim time, place, and manner policies.
Second.
Robbie motions, Javi seconds. All in favor, please raise your hands now. Please lower your hands. All against, please raise your hands. And all abstaining, please raise your hands. With a 14-0 vote, that resolution passes. Thank you all very much. We are going to be moving on to the next resolution, agenda item F, titled A Resolution Endorsing Ballot Measure DD and LL by Javier.
Hi everyone. So for the sake of this, I'm actually going to have Josh screen share a one-pager for this specific measure, just so I can like provide a little bit more context on what it is exactly that I'm asking you all to sign on to. So yeah, so this is for city measure DD and LL. And this one pager is provided by Angelis from Fair Maps. So it says redistricting determines representation. Redistricting run by politicians silences our voices and lets them manipulate the system to hold on to power. Redistricting led by the community lifts our voices and ensures we come first. Every 10 years, federal law requires the boundaries of council districts and school board districts to be redrawn because of population changes. This process determines where the boundaries are set, whether communities have fair representation on the city council and LAUSD board, and if some communities are silenced or taken into account. Currently, incumbent politicians determine the boundaries of city council and board districts. Charter amendments DD and LL will give important decision-making power to community members across Los Angeles and take that power out of the hands of politicians. As an independent redistricting commission is a proven, trusted, nonpartisan forum that has worked well in countless other California jurisdictions. It also allows for unbiased and impartial residents within the city and LAUSD to draw boundaries based on input from the public. So now moving back to the resolution doc. Some nuance that I did not touch. Currently scanning. No, that's pretty much everything. Nice. Yeah, so basically, this resolution, if passed, would say now therefore let it be resolved that the USAC of UCLA endorses these ballot measures. Let it be resolved that following university policies, the USAC will not authorize expenditures of any funds for the purpose of supporting these ballot measures. And let it finally be resolved that the USAC authorizes public disclosure of its endorsement to publicize that endorsement to the student body and to the community. Yeah, but that's pretty much it for the resolution. Does anyone have any questions?
Yes, Alicia. Sorry, the laptop. Go ahead. Sorry. Okay, please go ahead.
I move to approve the resolution endorsing ballot measure DD and LL.
I second.
Alicia motions, Josh seconds. All in favor, please raise your hands now. Please lower your hands. All against, please raise your hands. And all abstaining, please raise your hands. With a 14-0 vote, that motion passes. The resolution passes. Sorry. Thank you all so much. We are now going to move on to line item G, which is the SWC Programming Fund. Kiara, can you just highlight any changes if there are any, or anything else that's major that you want to highlight?
Sure. So there were no major changes from the previous year. There was only some wording changes for clarity. One was made in line 5 in the guidelines up top of how like publicizing the Student Wellness Commission. It was more general before. Now we just specified using the SWC logo. And then let's see. Yeah, and then we just also clarified in line 12, since there have been issues in the past regarding food, and when that is applied, we tried to specify with an example, continuing that specification as well, hopefully helping clarify for those who apply. So there were just some clarification wording changes made.
Thanks, Kiara. Does anyone have any questions or comments? Seeing none, could we please get a motion? Robbie.
Motion to approve the SWC Programming Fund application for this school year, 24-25.
I second that motion.
Robbie motions, Chris Espino seconds. All in favor, please raise your hands now. Please lower your hands. All against, please raise your hands. And all abstaining, please raise your hands. With a 14-0 vote, that motion passes. We are now on the last item for today. So can we have the attend? Oh, thank you. We're gonna move on to line item H, which is the ARC funding guidelines with Alicia. Alicia, if you can just detail any major changes or anything you want to highlight.
The one change we made is that it's gonna go back to being 2,500 limit. This is because we're going to be much more strict about our allocations this upcoming year. If your org is not planning an event centered on activism and art, then you might not get allocated. So yeah, and then the only other thing is that we're going to be a little bit more strict on food as well, and making sure that um, the catering is tied to artistic, cultural, and activism related like purpose. So yeah, not much to change, just the limit, and then just being more bold in our requirements for the application.
Thanks, Alicia. Does anyone have any questions or comments for Alicia? Yes, have you?
And I have a motion if no one has questions.
Oh, yes, Orlando.
Oh, I'm sorry. I have a question, Alicia, just because CAC is one of those funds that a lot of the cultural groups apply to. So just so I can have a clarification. So are we also going to be still considering cultural groups in their cultural programming?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
We're prioritizing cultural orgs, but it does have to be connected to edutainment, which is what CAC is about. And that's a description of the referendum.
Perfect. Thank you.
Any other comments? Seeing none, could we please get a motion?
I motion to approve the 2024 to 2025 ARC funding guidelines.
Any seconds? Have motions. Kiara seconds. All in favor, please raise your hands now. Please lower your hands. All against, please raise your hands. And all abstaining, please raise your hands. With a 14 to 0 vote, the ARC funding guidelines are approved. And with that, I'm adjourning council meeting at 9:38 p.m.